Hello, good evening everybody, and welcome to this evening's Cabinet meeting of Rushcliffe Borough Council. Just to remind everybody, the Cabinet meeting is being live streamed on YouTube, and a recording will be available after the meeting on the Council's YouTube channel. Also, to remind you that under the Openness of Local Government Bodies Regulations 2014, other people may record, film, post on social media or blog from this meeting, and the use of any such images are outside of the control of the Borough Council. There is an exempt item this evening, and so therefore we'll be moving that the public be excluded to that item, which is at the end of the agenda. So without further ado, we'll move on to item 1. Apologies for absence, please.
Apologies for absence from Councillor Verdi.
Thank you very much. Item 2. Does anybody have any declarations of interest? Take silence as no. Item 3. Minutes of the meeting held on the 11th of March. Can I sign those as correct record? All in favour? Thank you. And item 4, citizens' questions. There are no citizens' questions. So we'll move straight on to item 5, the opposition group leaders' questions. Could I invite Councillor Thomas to come forward, please? So when you are ready, please fire away.
The addition of a limit to the number of dogs that can be walked at a time is welcomed, but it's astonishing that the limit has been set at 6 dogs. This is a huge number to keep under control. The RSPCA recommends a limit of 4. It's not just a question of fouling, as the report suggests, it's also about safety. There have been incidents in our ward of dogs attacking people and other dogs. Plus, there are recorded incidents of dogs attacking swans and destroying bird nests. A limit of 4 dogs all round would be more sensible, perhaps with a licensing process to allow up to 6 in special cases, as is the case elsewhere. I note that 3 areas in West Bridgford have been given a limit of 4 dogs rather than 6. What criteria and consultation processes were used to ensure that all sites that would benefit from the tighter limit were included in the order? Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Inglis, please.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for your question, Councillor Thomas, and I'm glad you recognise the work that the officers have done to include the measure in this revised PSPO in relation to the maximum number of dogs that can be walked in public places, and we've had a recent conversations regarding it. The figure of 6 is consistent with other local authorities that have similar PSPOs, and it's also referenced as a maximum figure as a statutory guidance for dog daycare establishments. Yes, the RSPCA suggests a limit of 4, and that's only in relation to commercial dog walkers in their leaflet. It exceeds the government guidelines for the same activities. That same leaflet also recommends that it's a responsibility for the walker to have assessed the qualities and the suitability of each dog for it to be included in a walking pack. It is also important to note that the PSPO applies to all public places and all dogs and owners across the borough. Therefore, it's important to put forward an appropriately balanced measure. The draft PSPO with the 6 dog maximum element was widely consulted on for a 6-week period. That did give an opportunity for people to make that clear and to push, and if they wanted to sort a lower number within that. The council community manager did take this opportunity and provided evidence in these 3 locations you've mentioned for having a low number, and this change was then incorporated into the final draft, which we presented at the meeting tonight. There will be an opportunity to review the effectiveness of this PSPO over the next 3 years, and Councillor Thomas can look to provide further evidence at this time. Finally, there is no provision for the council to introduce a licensing regime just for the number of dogs being walked, as Councillor Thomas has suggested. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Thomas. Do you have a supplementary?
I do, yes. As far as safety is concerned, in terms of attacks on people and other dogs, dogs off lead are a particular concern. especially when multiple dogs are involved and they act like a pack. We have residents who will no longer walk in Meadow Park in Eastleigh because of the terror they experience when dogs run up to them. Why is there only one dogs on lead area specified in Schedule 1? Thank you.
Councillor Inglis.
Okay, the Schedule 1 that was proposed and approved for the last PCA 3 years ago. That was the only data that we had for that period. There's nothing come forward to suggest anything different from that. We've had no attacks, as far as I'm aware, within the borough with packs of dogs. I'm hoping this PSPO will address that issue with limiting the number of dogs to 6 rather than a free-all from everybody.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. Thank you, Councillor Thomas. Could I invite Councillor Walker to come forward, please? So, when you're ready, fire away.
Good evening. With the incoming local government reorganisation changes, as well as the acknowledgement in the strategy of the importance of communicating issues with residents, will Cabinet consider engaging with the residents of West Bridgford about the inclusion of a town council as part of their engagement action plan?
Thank you. Councillor Wheeler.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Councillor Walker, for the question. So, as you'll be aware, this council has communicated details of local government organisation with residents, including the agreed joint response from local councils, which was submitted to the government a couple of months ago. The council will continue to communicate with residents on LGR and any options and proposals that are received back from the government or that are agreed by this council. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have a supplementary, Councillor Walker?
Thank you, Councillor Wheeler. So how do you envision the democratic setup for West Bridgford after local government reorganisation?
I say, Councillor Walker, I think I can't give an answer on a hypothetical because I've not seen any proposal so far concrete. I've not said the town council that you're proposing there, and there's been no discussion with the cabinet at all. Full council has come through, so I'm sure, like my colleagues, any proposal comes forward, we will look at and consider it based on the merits of the proposal. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Right, moving on to the substantive items. So item 6 relates to the communications and engagement strategy. Councillor Wheeler, please.
Yep, so thank you, Chairman, for letting me speak tonight on this important item, the 2025-2028 Communication Engagement Strategy. So very pleased to be able to present it. As a council, we recognise how important it is to communicate with our residents. And this strategy aims to build on an excellent track record of engaging with residents while adapting to changing ways that our residents want to communicate and engage with us. While many other councils close their customer contact centres, we continue to have face-to-face services across Rushcliffe. We continue to deliver our popular Rushcliffe Reports magazine, all while increasing our digital presence so that we can engage with as many residents as possible. We have recently met with some of our younger residents to work with them on how they want to interact with the council, together with producing and reviewing our resident survey, which was available to all residents to give us their feedback. As you'll see from our action plans in the appendix items, we have clear plans in place to enhance our engagement both internally and externally. And going forwards, as a council, I really want to see us keep engaging with residents and to make sure that we get as much feedback as possible into how we deliver our services. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank our communications team for all the hard work they do, working all hours of the day and weekends where needed, and the great work they do make us all look good, which takes a lot of effort. Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to propose the recommendations on the report.
Thank you very much indeed. If I could ask for a second there, Councillor Brennan, please.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd also like to thank the team for this strategy. I think it's very comprehensive. It's extremely readable, as one would hope from a communication strategy. And it does set out some very clear plans for engaging with our residents, our stakeholders, with fellow councillors, and with all those partners that we work with across the borough. I think it's a really good document. It's a real challenge, isn't it, to sort of communicate effectively
what councils do, because whilst a lot of what we deliver in terms of our services is extremely important to people, and something they notice when it goes wrong, it doesn't necessarily lend itself to the most exciting creative content in modern digital communications such as social media. So it's really interesting, and I was really pleased to see that the communication team is looking very hard at new ways of communicating what we do to different audiences and tailoring it. So that's very welcome. This also responds to the peer review that we had a couple of years ago, which talked about how we engage with our stakeholders, and there's clearly been a lot of thought and work gone into how we can do that to deal with particular issues that are coming up, complex issues like LGR, but also basic things like the delivery of our services and how that's impacting on people and how they should develop in the future. So I think it's a very comprehensive plan. It's strategic, but it's also practical. And I look forward to our TikTok contribution to communicating. And I think Jonathan will be, Councillor Wheeler will be well set up for a few TikToks on improving the councils.
What are you trying to say?
So I think it's good. I really welcome it. Thank you very much to the team for putting it together, and I'm happy to second the recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Councillor Upton.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd just like to make a small point while I think of it. I've always been a champion for plain English, and so often many documents I look at and read aren't that. This, I think, is, as far as I can read it, and I applaud it, because a lot of people out there get confused, including me, about acronyms and things like that. So I like the plain English of the document. And communication is vital, is it not? And it's an ever-changing world on how we communicate with people. And I recall a few months back, if not a little bit longer, there was some criticism of this administration about alleged poor communication with certain sections of our communities. And I think this is addressing that. And I welcome it. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. In a similar vein, actually, I think that the presentation of it is very good, as you've already illustrated in earlier comments. It is an easy read, and it's pleasant to the eye to read. It's not complicated or time consuming. So I think it is very engaging, as one would expect of a good communications document. Are there any other comments or questions? No. It has been moved and seconded. So all those in favour, please. That is unanimous. Thank you very much indeed. So moving on to item 7, page 35, is the renewal of public space protection order. Councillor Inglis, please.
Yes, thank you. Well, since the COVID pandemic, there's been a large increase in dog ownership. I'd first like to state that this council fully appreciates and recognises that the majority of Rushcliffe dog owners are 100% responsible for their dogs and their actions, and I thank you. You have nothing to fear of this PSPO. Unfortunately, there are those that are not, and as a result, the council approved the current public space protection order to control that antisocial behaviour associated with dog control that impacts on others' quality of life and enjoyment of open spaces. This report is to consider the renewal of the current PSPO on its 3-year expiry date of the 8th of July this year. It is a requirement of the enabling legislation, namely the Antisocial Behaviour Crime and Policing Act of 2014, that provides powers for local authorities to introduce measures to address antisocial behaviour in public places. Any enforcement will be intelligence-led to remain fair, appropriate and proportionate. Section 4.7 of the report summarises the enforcement to date. To utilise these powers, the council must be satisfied on reasonable grounds that activities carried out in a public space will have or are likely to have, firstly, a detrimental effect on the quality of life for those in the locality. They are persistent or continuing in nature. They are unreasonable and justify the restrictions imposed. So a 6-week consultation period was undertaken between February and March this year, as in Appendix 3. The exercise was aimed in seeking views on the proposal to extend the PSPO, and a further question on whether there is support for a further measure to control the number of dogs being walked by one person at any one time, including consultations to other councils and relevant agencies by the officers for best practice and consistency. 95.6% of the responses supported the renewal of the PSPO. Section 4.6 of the report details the 4 areas of the control proposals. There's dog fouling. There's no change in those requirements, and that's still to have the means to pick up your dog feces. Dogs on leads in specified areas, again, no changes as in the Schedule 1. The dog exclusion areas, again, there's no changes. That applies to all children's play areas, multi-games areas, skate pods and gym equipment zones, which are fenced or enclosed. The changes come at number 4, the number of dogs walked by an individual. Feedback supported that number of walk dogs need to be restricted. 80% of those replies were in favour of that. And they included suggestions that a maximum of 4 to 6 dogs would be appropriate for an individual to walk, monitor and manage. In the decision considerations, 4 dogs could be too restrictive for professional dog walkers and could have a detrimental effect on their business viability and sustainability. So at this time, a maximum of 6 is proposed, which is conducive to other councils. However, an officer review felt it to be pertinent and will be done on the data to ensure that the PSPO remains effective on a 12-month basis, especially to the number of dogs under a single person control, in addition to the review criteria mentioned in 4.3. As in 4.4, the consultation invited comments and it highlights particular problems with dog fouling on some of our sports pitches, those being Gresham Sports Park, Alford Road playing fields and West Park Cricket Ground, which are monitored by the Council's Community Development Team. So in an effort to reduce these issues, the maximum number of dogs will be 4 in these locations so that dogs can be better monitored. I'm also pleased to confirm that the parish of Tollerton, who, for their own reasons, declined to be part of the current PSPO, as they have now expressed their desire to be included. So this report covers all the public spaces in the borough of Rushcliffe. So I'll also take the opportunity to recognise and thank Jeff Carpenter, the head of Rushcliffe's Public Protection, and his environmental team for the work undertaken in the preparation of this report. So I'd like to move the report to recommend that the Cabinet approves the PSPO as set out in Appendix 1 to take effect from the 8th of July 2025 and for the data relevant to the PSPO to be reviewed annually by officers to ensure its effectiveness. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Ask for a seconder, Councillor Upton, please.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I'm happy to support this recommendation. There seems to be a lot of discussion around the number of dogs that a single person can take on a public place, but there has been public consultation on this proposed renewal of the dog control order for another 3 years. And as you say, Councillor Inglis, it's included the proposal of a maximum of 6 dogs or 4 in specific sites to be walked by an individual at any one time. I do a fair bit of dog walking myself, but only with 1 dog. And I have to say, it's rare that I see 6 dogs or more being under the control of a single person. So I think the incidence of that number of dogs being walked in public spaces, from my perspective, probably quite low. And I don't think the majority of dog owners have 6 or more dogs, but I may be wrong. However, I understand the issue around professional dog walkers running a business and the implication of the number of dogs in that context. But overall, I think it's a reasonable approach. You say you're going to look at it again in 12 months' time. So on that basis, I'm happy to second the report. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Councillor Wheeler.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I think it's about balance, isn't it? Because we know there are some dog walk business, for example, who, they will need to take some amount of dogs to make it viable. But also at the same time, we have to balance against the number of reported incidents and issues. And again, similar to Councillor Upton, having been out there and walk dogs or been around the community, seeing people walk dogs, the number one, when people do report to me issues, it tends to be actually more issues with people who have one dog who are trying to get away, perhaps not picking up dog fowl, etc., more than people with multiple dogs. So I think we need to keep in mind that, it's got to that balance, and overall the extra money put into signage, and I think the communication around the fines that are available to people when they are breaching the PSPO is really important, because again, what I have found with wires going around, etc., is when people are caught and have to cough up some money, that's when they tend to take more notice of the PSPO and the regulations. So I think it's really important to just remind people about having to be responsible dog owners, etc., which we shouldn't have to do, but that's what we fortunately might have to do. But like I say, look over the balance, looking at the overall report, I think we've got the right balance struck. And again, as what we're doing said, it's going to be reviewed every year. So when colleagues have raised issues, then that can be put into the process, I'm sure, on a yearly basis, and when it's looked at again by officers. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any other questions or comments? No. So it has been moved and seconded. All those in favour, please. Unanimous. Thank you very much indeed. Move to item 8, and I move that under Regulation 4 of the Local Authorities Regulations 2012, the public be excluded from the meeting for the following items of business on the grounds that they involve the likely disclosure of exempt information as defined in paragraph 3 of Part 1 of Schedule 12A of the Local Government Act 1972. And the grounds for those potential exempt information are there could be commercially sensitive financial information disclosed. So I will move that. Can I have a seconder, please? Seconded. All those in favour?